A few days ago, if you guys haven't seen, there was a YouTuber called Under the Mayo that made a Batman Arkham Knight critique video he just went to town on it. Everything. He pretty much didn't like anything about the game whatsoever. And if you haven't seen it, I made a response video to it, essentially, either not necessarily discrediting, because it's opinions at the end of the day. I wasn't necessarily discrediting him, but I was giving reasons why I don't think his opinions are correct and why I disagree. And he has since come out with a video. Now, he wasn't addressing me directly. Let's just get this out of the way. But, however, he was just addressing the overall concern from his fan base, the comments, and potentially he might have even referenced some, response videos that were in there. But he does not address anybody directly. So, we're going to be looking at this response video today, and we're just going to see how well he takes the criticisms. Does he double down on them, or maybe he admits that he got some things wrong in his initial video. So without wasting too much of your time, let's get into it, and just please do not go send him hate because, at the end of the day, it's his opinion, and we gotta respect it. So let's get right into this.
Obviously, it isn't meant to be some deep analysis, it's more of a casual format rage quit video that simply amuses me as a conclusion to my Arkham coverage. Started in the first and much better, more serious video on Arkham Asylum and City, which I both enjoyed.
I don't really think that you can call this a simple, funny little rage quit video because you seemed pretty serious in your initial critiques. Now, obviously I'm not going to tell you whether or not you believe that statement, but how are you going to say that your Batman Arkham Asylum and City videos were a lot more serious, but now when it comes to Batman Arkham Knight, a video that you're getting a bunch of hate on, now all of a sudden it's just a funny little rage quit video? I don't know. Something there is just not adding up.
It's been a fun couple of weeks arguing back and forth in the comments, but I have grown tired and I'm ready to move on. Because I feel like I'm repeating myself, and I'd rather just leave this video here as something I can point to as I go on to newer and better things.
Well, I can't say I blame you for wanting to move on from the drama, because it's really not worth it over a video game. The only piece of advice I will give you is next time maybe don't make a review on something that you even said yourself you're not really a big fan of. Just a little piece of advice.
I wasn't sure if I should put this on my side channel, Residual Mayo, or put it here and risk annoying the viewers who don't enjoy this kind of drama and just want to see game analysis. Well, ultimately I had to go with putting it on the main channel because the Arkham Knight video was labeled by so many as a ragebait video, only done to get clicks, so why not go with that and make some money off this video as well. Click, 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 click.
Honestly, I can't even hate on you for that. You go and make your money. You go do your thing, man. I honestly try to get some views. Yeah, let's try to do the same thing here by reacting to your video.
If this doesn't interest you, I invite you to ignore it and check out whatever else is coming out on this channel around this time.
Not only am I interested, but I'm actually currently edging, and that's actually kind of ironic considering that your channel is called Under the Mayo. There was no pun intended until I actually said that out loud.
So for anyone curious enough to listen to some additional clarification, here it is. And let us never speak of this again. Well, at least not until the end of the year when I do the worst list.
Now, this is where I do have a problem when he says that this is going to go in his worst games of the year list for a game that he still hasn't finished. He's still doubling down on the same argument that the game is bad, even though he didn't finish it.
Number one, I've heard everyone saying that the car doesn't actually take up a lot of the game. People are throwing all kinds of percentages at me, when the fact is, the first third of the game is stuffed with tank combat. It doesn't matter to me if it evens out later. The amount of car stuff is so ridiculous early on that it soured me on the entire experience.
I will give you the fact that early on the Batmobile is used quite a bit, but that's also because that is the first time that anyone's ever used the Batmobile in this type of video game especially, and this is your only chance to be able to use it. So the game wanted you to get used to it as quickly as possible, but I would also say there's just as much, if not more, hand-to-hand combat and stealth sections even in the beginning of this game.
Number two, I am well aware that the enemy tanks do not have drivers inside and are instead driven remotely, but that has nothing to do with my comment about morons that can't hear behind them. That's just a simple, reductive way of stating how dumb the whole section is, because even if they are driven remotely, that means these futuristic war tanks have no microphones to monitor their surroundings, no cameras behind them or even to their sides, and no sensors behind them, which normal consumer trucks and shipping trucks have had forever. Or they do have all those things and the remote drivers still don't notice. It feels like you're fighting morons, even if in reality the tanks are either A, remotely driven by morons, or B, designed by morons. It's the same thing to play it.
In my initial video, I actually agreed with him on the Cobra Tank sections. I thought they were unnecessary. I thought that they were dumb. Any fight with the Arkham Knight could have been done hand-to-hand. Didn't need to be done in a Cobra Tank battle. The Cobra Tanks in general was kind of just... felt like a bit of filler and a bit of waste of time. And I kind of... I still agree with him on this. The Cobra Tank sections were completely stupid, completely useless. I don't even know why they were in the first place. I agree with him.
Number 3, my comment about forgetting how to do certain attacks is just a casual, funny comment I included about my frustrations with how infrequently the game was putting me into serious combat situations in the first third of the game. It's not meant to be taken so seriously.
No jokes allowed. How dare you make a joke in a YouTube video where you're trying to keep people entertained? How dare you? I know I gave him a bit of crap for that, comment about the combat in the first one, but, if he was just joking around a little bit about frustrations, I can absolutely accept that. The only thing I will say is, you said something about hand-to-hand combat and how there was a lot of it early on, you were frustrated. But that kind of goes against your thing about the Batmobile from earlier in the game, so which one is it?
Number 4, I do not finish games I'm having a terrible time with after hours of playing them and enjoying almost nothing about them. I listened to people's criticism before about me sometimes not finishing games I don't like, and I forced myself to finish Deathloop in 2021 to prove the haters wrong. I regret it to this day because the game was shit all the way to the end and only got worse. I'll never repeat that mistake. Game sucks, I quit.
Well, then we got a couple things to talk about here. First of all, if you're not going to finish it because you don't like it, that's completely acceptable. However, do not then proceed to put it in your worst games of the year list, because you cannot say that about a game you didn't finish. Second of all, why would you regret finishing a game you hated? Wouldn't that just prove to the people that your opinion was in fact right all along? Or not right, I should say, because it's an opinion, but at least you should be able to say that, you know what, I stuck it out and my opinion hasn't changed. And now you have a valid reason as to why, because you played to the end and it didn't get any better.
Number 5, regarding my comment that the combat felt a lot easier compared to Arkham City. People have pointed out that I'm simply better at the combat after having played the first 2 games, so it feels easier when it's actually the same. And okay, that's a fair point. That most certainly is a factor, but I also felt like I got swarmed by thugs on the street pretty early in Arkham City if I went around picking fights. And the early campaign missions threw bigger, more challenging fights at me. Arkham Knight didn't feel like that, but hey, if I'm wrong on that one, fine. Hell, even getting footage for this video, I was shocked at how much more demanding the opening fight with Catwoman is in Arkham City compared to the early action I came across in Arkham Knight. Even the first fight I picked in the streets had me feeling under pressure. Knight street fights just didn't have that in my experience, speaking as a casual fan.
This point, I kind of understand where he's coming from. I kind of understand that when you're in a street fight in Batman Arkham Knight, you don't really get swarmed the way you do in Batman Arkham City. However, my counter argument to that is still going to be the same of the thugs in Batman Arkham Knight are a lot harder to deal with, especially, when you get those really big brutes and there's multiple of them. You don't really face a lot of that kind of stuff in Batman Arkham City. It's a lot more of just the regular thugs. You just don't get crowded as much in Batman Arkham Knight, but the thugs themselves can be more difficult to deal with in Knight because not only is there more of them, but they're designed to be tougher to combat the easiness of using Batman. But I am glad that he was willing to at least acknowledge the fact that he actually might be wrong on this one, so I gotta give him props.
Number 6, the ability to get the electric gun early on is completely irrelevant to my point about gadget integration in level progression. Arkham City from a very early point had me using gadgets to progress. The electric gun had to be used to open doors. You have to use the grapple to cross the water to get to Penguin. These things happen quite early in the campaign and encourage familiarity with your gear as you're learning how the game plays. In contrast to this, in Arkham Knight, I have made it a third through the game's progression doing campaign and side missions, and it's done a far inferior job of getting me into gadget variety. Level progression seems to be all about the car. And I don't care that there may be gadget integration later on. Too late! The game has already lost me by being 50% tank combat and constant cutscenes for the opening hours.
I definitely see his point about, the overall integration of the gadgets, because some of the things you don't really get to use until later in the game. The game doesn't really give you that full introduction until it's later in the game. But I am going to push back a little bit on the Batmobile stuff. I would not say 50% of the battles are tank battles early on necessarily. I think that's a bit over exaggerated once again to make it seem larger than it really is. However, I do understand your point about using the Batmobile early on in the campaign, but you can also argue that the Batmobile is a gadget of its own that the game had to introduce you to in order for you to fully understand how it works, because you got one game to use it. It's not like there's going to be multiple games after this where you can get, multiple games worth of experience with it. You got this game, and that's it.
Number 7, calling Arkham Knight a bad game is not something I think anyone should take personally. I'm not going to get into arguments about objectivity versus subjectivity. People can like what they like. But I'm not calling anyone stupid for liking what I think is a bad entry in the Arkham series. I think we all like bad games here and there. Hell, even Redfall has a fan base, and they call you dishonest and a click chaser for calling it bad. I like some bad games too, it's okay, and I'll defend things I think are good about them while still agreeing it's overall bad. I plan on talking about one of those really bad games that I like eventually.
I don't think anybody necessarily has a problem with the fact that you dislike the game, because like you said, we all can like and dislike whatever we like. But I think it's the reasons you gave for why you don't like it that really make it seem almost like it's rage bait, like people were claiming to begin with. And of course, that thing that you didn't finish the game kind of invalidates your opinion, especially coming from someone who said that they're not a Batman fan as well. People just are not going to take your opinion seriously. They're going to clown on you for that.
And finally, the porn point. Many have attempted to convince me that the part where Batman suits up in Arkham Knight is just the same as his suit up moment in City, and it's just not. First, they're contextually different. Cities is about Bruce Wayne becoming Batman. Knights is about Batman getting a bunch of upgrades to make himself more badass. Second, in City he just puts on the suit and moves on to the objective. In Knight, the game pauses to dwell and indulge on every single suit upgrade as if this stuff were important to see. It's just there for fanboys to squeal and scream about how badass Batman's gear is. Third, while City simply moves on to the mission, Knight presents you with the option to do a bunch of VR missions to explore your cool new tech while hostages are waiting for you to rescue them. I think it's immersion breaking, and the problem is not resolved by it being optional. Just the existence of VR missions in this exact moment is distracting from how serious the experience feels at this point. If you disagree, fine, you can feel how you feel. This is how I feel.
But the thing is that Batman was putting on the suit because he needed to be able to do the fear multi-takedown in order to save the hostages. Also, it is a video game, so they wanted to give you a tutorial on how to use this suit better to your advantage before you just went guns blazing in there and got everybody killed.
And this gross, oh yeah, Batman is so awesome, look at all his sweet gear, just doesn't belong here, in my opinion. And look, all the proof you need to see that this sequence in Arkham Knight is bizarrely overindulgent and off-putting to someone who doesn't touch themselves to Batman is to look at the duration of these two sequences, timing it from the moment they open the capsule to suit up to the moment when the player finally takes control. It takes Arkham City's sequence only 36 seconds to reach the end. Want to guess how long it takes Arkham Knight to suit up and get through all the gushing over his gear? Close to 2 minutes, 1 minute and 42 seconds. Case closed.
I don't think Batman taking longer to put on a suit is therefore equivalent to Bat fun time, if you get what I'm getting at. I think the game just wanted to show you the upgrades made to the suit so that Batman could successfully do a fear multi-takedown. I understand that it took longer and it's a very long scene, but I don't think anyone's jacking their stack to a nice little bat suit. At least I'm not personally. If you are, you do you, girl. You go crazy. But that's pretty much all he had to say. The only thing I didn't cover was the whole Doom effect comparison. And the only reason why I didn't cover that is because I've never played those games. And I'm not going to give an opinion on a game I've never played before. But yeah, that's pretty much all that there is to cover in this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know what you guys want to see next down in the comments below. Make sure to subscribe for more content. And I'll see you in the next one. Peace!